We have some news from Ford. They have officially unveiled the new 2025 Ford Maverick. It has some changes to the exterior design, specifically in the front end, that we're going to have a look at. It looks, I don't know, it looks a little strange to me. I think I prefer the old one. But more on that when we jump into Photoshop to have a look at this new truck from a front, side, and rear. And also the interior. There are a lot of changes in the interior as well. And the tech has been updated as well. So before we jump into Photoshop, let's have a look at this new Maverick here from this article from Car and Driver. Let's see what this is all about. So 2025 Ford Maverick has a strange new face. Hybrid now offers all-wheel drive, which is fantastic. It can tow up to 4,000 pounds from this little thing. Not bad at all. And all models now come with a bigger 13.2-inch touchscreen in the interior, which in this case I don't really mind, because I don't feel like it looks like it's intruding, or it's an intrusive design in the interior. It actually looks pretty good in this car. So redesigned front end and updated interior, plus the tremor, which we see right here, has been added as a full trim. And I do love the orange accents that we have here on the tremor. Always looked good to me. You have a 2.5-liter four-cylinder hybrid powertrain, also adds the optional all-wheel drive. That is something that the customers, that was the #1 request from customers, to add that to the hybrid setup, and now we have that. You can be optioned with all-wheel drive on the XL, the XLT, and the Lariat trims. The truck availables powertrain still consists of the 191 horsepower hybrid 2.5-liter four-cylinder that comes standard, as well as the optional 2-liter Turbo 4, which drops its power from 250 horsepower to 238. And I wonder what the reasoning is behind that. The headlights now have black accents, and the top trim adds LED running lights. Something that if I were to buy this, I would 100% go with the LED front headlights, because it looks so much better than the base model. And the front bumper now extends up and covers this piece of the headlight here. We're going to talk more about what I think about that in a minute. Still, each trim level now comes with a unique grille design. You have a new infotainment screen, as talked about, grow from 8 inches to 13.2. And here you can see this new screen in here. As I said, it doesn't look too bad. At least it doesn't stick up too far here. You have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, 360-degree camera. Since we have a lot more tech here now, and updated design is going to increase in price. Around $2,400 bump in price across the lineup. It starts at $27,890 for the XL trim, and then the tremor sits at the top at $41,390. So with that said, let's jump into Photoshop here. Let's have a look at what's going on with this new Maverick. What happened with the design here? It's not a bad design. I wouldn't call it a bad. It still looks good. When it first came out, I thought it was a beautiful looking little truck. I loved this design, and I still do, because I think this the first pre-facelift had this classic look to it. Very beautiful, and have this clear separation of the top graphics up here in line with the grille down here for the headlights, and then you have a clear separation with this beautiful bumper here, and a very simplistic graphic feature down here at the bottom being blacked out. Loved these integrations of the LEDs here as well, looking very clean, and a clear identifier at night. When you have these lights on, you can instantly know that this is a Maverick behind you. Now, looking at the new one here, what they did with the front end design, first of all, every single, this I do believe is the Lariat trim, every single trim level now has a unique grille design. I do like the grille design on the Lariat. It looks very clean. But now we have this piece sticking up right here. Let's make it red so you can see what I'm doing. Right here, we have a body panel now sticking all the way up here, and it feels a little unnatural to me. It feels like the headlight should still continue and have a connection here to the grille. And especially since we have this chamfer, making this feel like an additional piece that would just slapped onto the headlight, if that makes sense. It just doesn't have the same natural flow to it as it did in the old Maverick up there. I do prefer the old Maverick over the new one, even though the new one still looks good. I just like this headlight design better that we had up here. But here you can see this LED running light that I am a big fan of for the new Maverick. It creates maybe an even stronger LED than we had in the previous one, creating more of an identity in the front that might be mistaken for the new Ford Ranger, which has a very similar design to the headlight unit right there. And then we have, I do think we have a redesigned lower bumper as well, because you can see here it's a straight line, keeping it very simple. But now in the new one, you can see that in the end, in the corners here, we do have a bit of an upswing right here. So it sticks up, creating this bump in the lower section for the graphics. Still looks very good, very simplistic still. Just add a little bit more styling features to this design. The hood looks great as well. Super simple lines, clean design. We have a lot of chamfers in this car, and that was the one thing that I loved about the when it first came out 4 years ago now. I think it was 4 years ago. All the chamfers that we have going around the key graphics looked very clean. Now looking at the side view here, there's really not a lot of changes here. We also have this new Maverick Lobo, which is a very cool street truck. I made a redesign of the Maverick when it first came out, because I saw that it has the potential to look very cool if it sat a little lower, if we had these panels right here be body color. So I made a redesign of that, and I think that redesign looked very nice. And I would have loved to see a street version for the Maverick when it first came out, but thankfully now we do have that. So looking at side view here, this is what I'm talking about. Chamfers everywhere. We have a chamfer up here, or in the shoulder line, a very subtle chamfer. We have another chamfer going around the wheel arches here, and in the rear end also a chamfer housing the key graphics in the rear, which is the taillights. And the proportions of this looks like if you want to learn how to sketch a truck, this would be a good starting point, because we have a clear 3-box design here. As you can see, we have box 1, box 2, box 3. Now looking at the new one here, there's really not a lot of changes in the side view that I can see. Even the wheels here on this XLT trim is exactly the same wheels like we had in the pre-facelift. The greenhouse looks exactly the same as well. Still very beautiful, and here you can see more chamfers coming in here in the top part of the bed, looking very clean. This is something that is going away slowly, but I think Ford right now is crushing it when it comes to their truck designs. I love the new F-150. Even the Bronco, of course, is a very clean and cool retro-inspired designs. We have this as well, and the Ranger looks fantastic. Ford is just having a lot of fun in their design department right now. And then we have the same line down here, of course, and the blacked out graphics in the lower section. That is body color in the street truck version, creating a lower, visually makes it look lower than the rest of the lineup of the Mavericks. Now looking at the rear end, there's really nothing new here, so really quick, just want to show you what the rear end looks like. I don't think they changed anything for the rear, but I just want to bring your attention to all these beautiful, again, chamfers going on everywhere on this truck. We have the Maverick stamped in here as well, looking very clean. And we have sort of the same dimples in the rear like we have in the new facelift, but here they're a lot more pronounced, of course, this being the rear end bumper. Now last but not least, the interior. And this is a huge change as well. Bringing in this 13.3 or something like that inch infotainment screen. You can see just how much bigger it is right here, where the new one, this is the old one here, and then we have the new one down here. And the thing is, this already had the outline of a 13 plus inch screen. You just had this weird little compartment here to, I don't know what you would store in there. So instead they just filled the entire outline up with a big screen. And I wasn't a huge fan of this old infotainment system. This new one is definitely a lot better, user-friendly than the old design that we have here for the infotainment screen. The gauge cluster looks to be completely new as well, because we had the analog gauges here, which I think looks very cool, because we still have a big screen here in the middle. Looked very clean. The steering wheel looks pretty cheap, but it is a relatively cheap truck, so they don't need to go crazy on every single detail here. But as you can see, the gauge cluster now, maybe this is an option, I'm not entirely sure, but you can see that it is completely digital now, which is totally fine again, because we still have a nice cave for it to sit in, so it's not going to create a lot of glare here. It's very deep within the dash. And further down here we have a new design for this area as well. Not sure which one I prefer. I really like the old one because this feels like a much better solution with the tactile buttons. As always, you have the temp knobs right here, very simple, fan speed, a heated steering wheel, and everything is laid out beautifully here. You can feel your way as you're driving, what you want to do. And now, as you can see, everything is laid out in the infotainment screen in the software itself. So it's going to create it's going to be a little bit harder to figure out, you know, touch exactly where you want to touch. For example, for the plus and minus buttons right here on the lower section of the screen for the temp, than it was in the previous, which had a perfectly fine setup there. But we need to go into pixels these days in pretty much everything. So overall, it's a pretty cool update from Ford for the Maverick. I do like the street truck. I think that looks great. If we lower it just a little bit more and add some cool wheels onto that, it still comes with some pretty cool wheels, but I want to have more of a spoke design in the wheels. That would be a very, very cool looking truck. And I think, again, Ford is just crushing it when it comes to their exterior design and also their interior designs these days.